The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings, Week 12 Waiver Wire Pickup Power Rankings, NFL Injury Report, and running back snap counts and best handcuff pickups for the rest of the season, for the fantasy playoffs. If you want to help out the show, smash the like button to the video, share it around. But if you have a question, whether it's a trade question, a pickup ad question, a stash question, something about the fantasy playoffs question, leave it in the comment section of this video. I'll get back to them by Tuesday evening. Guarantee you, unless I forget. But I probably won't forget. I haven't been forgetting, so that's probably good news. And if you really want to help out this channel tremendously, please subscribe to Mayo Media Network. Takes 3 seconds to do, helps us out so much. Please just go do that. Make it a Thanksgiving miracle for us. 3 games on Thursday, rest of the games on the weekend and Monday evening with Philadelphia and Seattle, but no more bye weeks. We got a full slate of players. You don't have to worry about that stuff anymore, although there are injuries that you have to get into. And the waiver wire show from here on out is going to be somewhat limited. It's not going to be very long. Frankly, there are just not that many guys to go pick up, and there are so few teams remaining in the fantasy playoffs that competition for said players is not so high. So if you have the number one waiver priority or a bunch of fab bucks, just pick your spots. If you want to start preparing for the fantasy playoffs in terms of defenses, I talked about that last week, same as quarterbacks. You can go rewind to that show. And if you just want to play DraftKings, giant slates this week, but if it's a Monday night game, Justin Freeman has his DraftKings Showdown video up on Mayo Media Network right now. It's short. I highly recommend you go do that. Justin is one of the best around in DraftKings Showdown, so you can just check out and you can see his plotting in terms of simulations. It's an intriguing video. I've been doing better at Showdown because of it, so maybe you can too. But if you think you're going to win at Showdown every single week, you're fooling yourself. It's a crapshoot for the most part, but the way that Justin breaks it down is very interesting about how you can get to the actual top of tournaments. I mean, no one's playing to min cash when you're playing in $1 million top prize tournament. So you're going to take some L's, but if you get the W, you want to make it count. So Justin Freeman's DraftKings Showdown video up on Mayo Media Network right now. Plus, later on Monday, I will have the DraftKings Thursday Thanksgiving Slate Showdown with Joe Holka. Be on the lookout for that. It's always one of the most fun contests to play every year. Plus, if you follow me on Twitter at the PME, I will be giving away 20 entries into the big $20 contest on Thanksgiving. So take a look for that on Tuesday. It'll be like a 2-hour release, probably around noon. I'm guessing I don't have the full details yet, but I know that I'm getting tickets to give away. So at the PME is where you're going to find those. Plus, double spread pick show week. We're going to do a Thanksgiving only spread pick show and then the rest of the slate later on in the week. So lots going on Mayo Media Network. Please subscribe now. Let's jump into the Week 12 waiver wire, starting with the running back position. Kicking it off with the injuries. Rex Burkhead looks like he may have torn his ACL. He was carted off the field against the Texans. He's probably done for the year. No official report as of the time of this recording. Additionally, if you're looking for updates on injuries or the pickup rankings, if something major changes, go to the description of this video or podcast, and you can find the link to my waiver wire pickup column that is on dkplaybook.com. I update it every 12 hours or so with a timestamp of when the last time it was updated, so you can just follow along with that. You just want to check back in on Tuesday evening. It's not like you can submit waiver claims right now. The only thing I would say is if in your league, if teams are on bye week, you can still pick them up. Go pick up the Giants defense right now. They get Fit Finley and Cincinnati next week. Not a bad spot to be in. And if somehow the Browns are still available, they have the best playoff schedule against the Jets and Giants. So that's another place where you can go and find some value. Obviously, you can't go pick up the Browns right now, just immediately. You're going to have to pick them up on waivers, but I believe they're still available in like 35% of leagues that they need to be, especially coming off a bad or great week on defense, that everyone's going to go pick them up anyway. So there might be a bit of competition worth paying for, though. Just as Jets and Giants week 15 and 16, that could win you a fantasy championship. You don't think of defenses that way, but that's very much on the table for them. So Rex Burkhead, he's probably gone. We'll talk about the pickups in a second. LaMichael Pirine exited the game with a knee injury for the Jets, which just means more Frank Gore and Ty Johnson. Fun times. You don't want either of those losers. DeAndre Swift missed the week with a concussion, as did like half of Detroit's roster. I would assume he would pass concussion protocol to play on Thursday. That's no guarantee, but that would at least be my assumption when I do the ranking show with Jake on Tuesday, unless other counter reports have come out that he will be in those rankings. That is a very nice matchup for him against the Texans, one of the worst run defenses in the league. Christian McCaffrey may return this week. David Montgomery, coming off bye in his concussion, may return this week. Myles Gaskin is still technically on injured reserve, but he is eligible to return in week 12, so don't go spending all your fab bucks on Ahmed right now. I would expect Myles Gaskin to return to his primary role in this backfield, even with Tua going back in. It's against the Jets. It's not a bad situation to be in. So Myles Gaskin, if he was dropped, be on the lookout. He's still owned in like 85% of leagues, but you never know if he's still out there. You can go pick him up. Austin Eckler could come back this week as well for the Chargers. They're at the Bills. Tevin Coleman and Raheem Mostert, both eligible to return coming off bye week, off injured reserve for the San Francisco 49ers. JaMychal Hasty is on injured reserve with that broken collarbone. Chris Carson was very close to playing last Thursday. They don't play until Monday this week, so Saturday will be the telling day for Chris Carson, but I would expect him to return and reestablish himself as the lead back. Carlos Hyde obviously got the majority of the workload on Thursday evening, but Chris Carson's going to be the guy when it comes down to that. Joe Mixon was placed on injured reserve, so 2 more weeks of Gio at least. Justin Jackson on injured reserve, David Johnson on injured reserve, Devonta Freeman on injured reserve, and that's it for the running back position. So pickups for the week. I'm just sticking with who I had last week. Although he was on bye, Wayne Gallman appears like he's the dude in the backfield for the Giants. Like it's Cincinnati this week. That is a very good matchup for them. And they play the NFC East, kind of going out. Not exclusively going out, but they have a lot of soft matchups coming up. You know, Gallman's not great, but if he's going to get 15 to 20 touches a game, that's a start-a-bull-ish type running back in a season where running back has been kind of devoid of a lot of consistency. He'll likely never be more than running back 17 in any sort of week, but flex play, running back 2, low end, that's what you're looking for from Wayne Gallman. That's worth being the number 1 pickup right now with everyone else on this list. Damian Harris is probably a guy you can go pick up as well. He continues to establish himself on the ground. That role seems to be very secure. I'm curious to see what happens with Sony Michel once he ends up coming back officially and is active. He's off injured reserve. The Patriots activated him, but he was not active for the game. They had to do that to make sure that he didn't have to sit out the entire season. So we're not even sure what his timeline is for actually returning to the field right now, but it does seem like Damian Harris has established himself as the guy on the ground. Problem is, if he's not going to rush for over 100 yards, the touchdowns, although he scored one against Houston in the best matchup you can have, they're going to be kind of fickle week to week, as Cam Newton's going to steal some. You know that like some random jabroni you've never heard of is going to steal one. And now James White is probably going to have a larger role with Rex Burkhead on the sidelines probably for the rest of the season. That, not to say that James White is going to steal his touchdowns, but he could steal some opportunity if Harris was going to be used at all in the receiving game. But without Rex Burkhead, that is a positive in the direction of Damian Harris. So he's number 2 in the rankings. J.K. Dobbins is number 3. I went and searched my fantasy teams for the year. I don't own any Ravens anywhere, which is turning out to be a great thing because they are wildly inconsistent. Dobbins ended up playing the most snaps of all of the Baltimore running backs. Obviously, he scored the rushing touchdown, and ended up punching in a 2-point conversion on that really nice like misdirection pass play that they had. Dobbins played 63% of the snaps. That is a high for the season. I don't know if that's going to persist. He would be the Baltimore running back to play every single week, but where they're still in a 4-headed backfield. Although Harbaugh came out today and said that they're basically phasing Mark Ingram, that awful Mark Ingram, it's finally happening, out of the offense right now. But like Justice Hill is getting snaps. He had more snaps than Ingram is. It's just across the board. Dobbins ended up playing, where is he here? Dobbins 64% of snaps, Gus Edwards 21%, Mark Ingram 8%, Justice Hill around 10%. That there's just so many people there that you never know week to week that they're going to have to score a touchdown in order to be fantasy viable. And that's just not really a situation you want to get yourself into. Look at the Colts backfield. Like every single week, it's someone different. You can't trust any of them. And now as we're inching towards the fantasy playoffs, is it worth the upside to put in J.K. Dobbins, who could score you 25 points? I guess it depends on your situation. If you are a huge underdog or you're one of those teams that hasn't scored a lot of points, but you're getting into the playoffs anyway, or like you're the Luxac team of the year, you might have to take a shot on someone like Dobbins and try to play for that upside, knowing that you're probably going to lose anyway. That, you know, live it YOLO life, that you have to play for the biggest ceiling games possible if you have a chance to beat one of the better teams that you're going up against in the fantasy playoffs. But if you're like an established team, you don't want anything to do with a lot of these mixed backfields where, again, each week it could be someone completely different. Number 4, Jamal Williams, who played almost as many snaps as Aaron Jones once again. James White at number 5. Zach Moss coming off the bye week at number 6. Phillip Lindsay. I mean, how many times can Melvin Gordon? Melvin Gordon actually looked pretty good against Miami, and he scored the 2 touchdowns. Should have had a third, but fumbled on the 1-yard line. He has crippling fumbling issues, just like me. Fumbling my words. Not even half as bad as the fumbling issues on the field that Melvin Gordon has right now. Lindsay actually looked quite spry in that game, too. So, again, this is only a situation where if Melvin Gordon gets hurt, you would actually play Phillip Lindsay, but again, it's the same time here where you don't need a running back. I guess you can pick up like a handcuff running back who could have a larger role moving forward. You don't need a wide receiver 6 anymore. You just don't. Malcolm Brown, Carlos Hyde, Cam Akers, Salvon Ahmed, Matt Breida, and Adrian Peterson are the full extent of the rankings for running back immediate pickups. For handcuff rankings, I have Jamal Williams at number 1, Latavius Murray at number 2, Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard, Devontae Booker, Boston Scott, Carlos Hyde, Salvon Ahmed, and Donta Foreman round out the top 9 right now. If you're just looking for people to go pick up to stash on your bench in case an injury happens during the fantasy playoffs, these are all guys that I think that you could pretty comfortably use. Maybe not Foreman, because McNichols continues to outsnap him, but just the role that he had been used in the past 3 weeks leads me to believe that McNichols' role would probably remain relatively unchanged, maybe a little bit of an expansion, but Foreman would be the one to come in to take the quote-unquote Derrick Henry role moving forward. And we've seen with Ahmed that if Gaskin isn't there, he's going to be the guy. So that's good information to have moving forward. And if Gaskin comes back, expect him to be dropped in a lot of formats that you can go pick him up for free, stash him on the back end of your bench if you're just looking to load up on these guys. Like, again, bench spots this time of year are so important. The buys are over. You don't need to hang on to those periphery pieces that you're just never going to use objectively, that you're better off having one of these guys on your team in case the worst happens to the guys sitting in front of them, and you can actually plug those guys into your roster because they're top 10 plays or top 15 plays, usable fantasy pieces. You're trying to maximize the upside of your roster. That's why carrying 2 defenses, 3 defenses, 4 handcuffs, whatever you have room for on your bench is the best way to attack your fantasy roster going into the fantasy playoffs. Snap shares overall for the week at running back, Dalvin Cook led the way in terms of percentage. He was the high for the week at 80%. Duke Johnson was up over 90% the week before. Connor was around 90% as well. No one above Dalvin Cook at 80% this week. That is 61 total snaps. Madison played 8% for reference. Derrick Henry was second after that at 79%. Malcolm Perry for the Dolphins. They're using a lot of 2 running back sets, fullback sets, 79%. But it was Salvon Ahmed playing 67% of the snaps as the featured back. He actually missed time in that game too with an injury, ended up returning. So it's very clear that he is the guy. They do not want to play Matt Breida. Apparently, I don't understand what the point of trading for Matt Breida was at the beginning of the year. Turns out they don't like him. Maybe he's not very good. Maybe Ahmed's great. I don't know. But Gaskin's going to be the guy when he comes back. So Gaskin is the one that you want, and it could be as soon as this week. Duke Johnson led the way with the Texans, 77% of snaps. Turns out he's just not good as a lead running back. David Johnson will get that job back the moment he is eligible to return from injured reserve. Not that he's good either, but he's like the 20th best running back in fantasy when it all comes down to it. Josh Jacobs, 74%. Devontae Booker, 26% with no Jalen Richard around. Again, Booker continues to have a role every single week in this offense. If something was to happen to Josh Jacobs, Booker would be a very valuable fantasy asset, especially if Richard has continued to be sidelined, that he might be able to pick up like 2-3 catches per game consistently, where we don't see that with Jacobs. Some weeks it's 4, some weeks it's none, most weeks it's 1 or 2, maybe. Just being on the field that much, that Booker could actually be a very useful fantasy asset. I never thought I'd say that again. And he was the pass catching back in Denver for years when he was the guy. That was his only role. So now that they're using him on the ground a little bit, we know that he does have pass catching prowess. It does lead to some upside. Mike Davis around 73%. Expect it to stay above 70% as long as Christian McCaffrey is out with that shoulder injury. McCaffrey could end up returning this week though. James Robinson over 1,000 combined total yards in 10 games. It's a really impressive rookie season. Even almost got to 100 yards against Pittsburgh. Like, he's a must start every single week. Maybe not on DraftKings because he does lack that proper upside, but for your season long team, he's a top 10 running back. He just is. The consistency that he brings, playing over 70% of the snaps once again, it's kind of crazy. Kerryon Johnson played 70% of snaps to Adrian Peterson's 30% against the Panthers. I think that was a game flow issue. I mean, the Lions obviously didn't score any points, which is just alarming if you're a Lions fan. they were missing a ton of guys, but it's not like the Panthers defense is very good. But where they got down early, they put on the guy who is a better pass protector, better pass catcher. If the Lions were to, let's say, jump up in game, let's say Swift doesn't play this week, and it's Peterson and Carry-On once again, the lean is going to be towards Carry-On because they're going to look at the split 70-30. Oh, obviously it's Carry-On. But you can run so well on the ground with Adrian Peterson and against the Texans, I would actually swing back to Adrian Peterson in that regard. Now, if Swift plays, Swift is very clearly the only one you would even want to consider here. But as long as you think that the Lions can keep this close against the Texans at home, and the spread is within a field goal, so it should be a relatively competitive game if Vegas knows what they're doing here. They don't always know, but most of the time, they're pretty dead on with this stuff, that I could see Peterson getting his way to around 15 carries on the ground, which could be very valuable against the Texans in that matchup. Other ones to pay attention to, even though Kalen Ballage got hurt early in the game, ended up coming back in and playing 66% of the snaps. Troymaine Pope played more than Joshua Kelly. For the love of God, Austin Eckler, please just be healthy and come back. That would be such a huge boon for the fantasy playoffs for anyone who held on to him or bought low on him over the past few weeks. It's very clear that he's not coming back until he's 100% healthy after being out this long, that the moment he is back, get him into your laps. I don't care who the opponent is going to be. With the way that Herbert checks down to his running backs, unlike Tyrod, which we saw in week 1, he has the potential to be a top 5 fantasy running back the rest of the season in that offense. So watch out for Austin Eckler. Gio played just over 50%. Samaje Perine played just under 40. You're going to have to downgrade Gio just because Joe Burrow is out for the season. You don't want much to do with Finley in this regard. Although he does love targeting T. Higgins. After coming into the game, 4, I believe his 10 passes went in T. Higgins' direction. They weren't overly catchable, but it's nice that he's looking for him. That's a bonus. Other ones, Miles Sanders played 61%. That offense is just broken at the moment. McKissick and Antonio Gibson just playing a lot of 2 running back sets. Both played over 50% of the snaps. Frank Gore played 56%. Ty Johnson played 24% to P. Ryan's 20 after he left the game. Other than that, it's pretty clear across the board. Gurley was a concerning one, that if Atlanta does get down in games, Brian Hill played 41% of the snaps to Todd Gurley's 39%. So in negative game scripts, which if Julio Jones misses time, you're going to see a lot of because their offense sucks whenever Julio Jones isn't on the field, that Brian Hill is going to likely see at least probably a split and do some damage in the passing game over Todd Gurley. So I'd be very concerned if I was relying on Todd Gurley. You got to skate by for weeks with him just putting in a greasy touchdown, saving his week every single time. When that doesn't happen, he's fucking useless. So watch out for that. Kamara, 51% of the snaps. Latavius Murray, 47%. I can see that going forward. You actually have to downgrade Kamara a little bit just because Taysom doesn't check down to running backs all that often. He's going to call his own number near the goal line, and he's going to steal 5 to 10 carries per game by himself. That it would make him not really in contention to be the number 1 fantasy running back in any sort of week. It's not like you're sitting Alvin Kamara, but instead of being number 1 or 2 with a lock every single week, he'd be 4, 5, or 6, where he came into the season as, to be perfectly honest with you. Because I'm just trying to think. McCaffrey, if he plays, would be ahead of him. Dalvin Cook, obviously. Maybe it's just those 2. Derrick Henry, I would probably start over him if Kamara is not going to get as involved in the passing game as he's been. Yeah. He's going to be 4, 5, 6. Zeke actually showed some life, so maybe he can go back up. He played 70% of the snaps to Tony Pollard's 30%. But that's enough about them. Let's talk about wide receivers for the week. Juju slipped on a penalty flag and hurt his toe. No word yet if he's going to be available in the Thursday night evening game against the Ravens. That would open up James Washington and or Ray McLeod. For DraftKings purposes, you're not going to pick up those guys for season-long purposes, just as the spots are without any bye weeks. There's going to be ample opportunity to go pick up losers to put in your lineup that you can probably find better options than James Washington. On DraftKings, where he is the minimum price player, then all of a sudden it's a different conversation. We're having 2 conversations here. Julio Jones hurt his hamstring, left the game, went to the blue tent, probably had a piss or something. I don't know what goes on in there. And then he came back into the game, actually made a really nice catch for little to no reason because the Falcons weren't coming back, and then re-hurt his hamstring. Hamstring injuries have been 2 to 3 week absences. They're calling it cramping. I don't know if it's torn, what's going on. I wouldn't expect Julio for 2 weeks at this point, which means everyone in the Falcons offense is going to be god-awful. So not great news for Julio Jones. Kenny Stills hurt his leg. He is questionable for the Thursday game against the Lions. Randall Cobb injured his leg also on his touchdown catch. He's not going to play. That looked really bad. Danny Amendola and Kenny Galladay both missed week 11. Not sure about week 12 with the two of them. John Brown hurt his ankle before the bye week. He should be okay this week for Buffalo, so just pay attention to that moving forward. Sammy Watkins missed his 5th straight game. He should be back, but I thought he'd be back in the Sunday night game. Fortunately, good looking out on the Chiefs for letting us know that on Saturday, so we didn't have to be like, oh, we're going to play Sammy Watkins or Demarcus Robinson, because when Sammy Watkins goes out, Demarcus Robinson's actually a pretty decent play, despite the fact that sometimes he runs wrong routes, but because Hardman had been just activated from the COVID list, he was basically useless in that game. There's a lot of run for Demarcus Robinson. We'll see how that goes moving forward. Hump Daddy, Adam Humphries, didn't play again. Wouldn't expect him back anytime soon yet. Preston Williams, Julian Edelman on injured reserve. Deebo Samuel eligible to return, probably will return in week 12, and you'll notice him near the very top of the wide receiver pickup rankings. I have Michael Pittman at number 1 in the rankings. Just go pick him up. Go pick up Deebo. He's at number 2. Darius Slayton was dropped on the bye week. Go pick him up as well. Corey Davis, yeah. I don't think anyone's ever comfortable starting Corey Davis just because he's Corey Davis, but he's having like the Devontae Parker year from last year. Not quite as good, but if you've just been playing Corey Davis every week, you've been winning weeks. So he's number 4 in the pickup. I still don't trust the guy at all, but he continues to perform. It's like Nelson Aguilar in that regard. He keeps having these good weeks, but every time that you insert him into your lineup, I guarantee you he scores like 0 points because that's what these type of guys do. But it's been far more consistent for Corey Davis. Cole Beasley at number 5, Cole Beasley at number 5, Tim Patrick at number 6, Alan Lazard, Jacoby Myers, Josh Reynolds, Jalen Rager, KJ Hamler, Marcus Valdez-Scantling, Demir Bird, Sammy Watkins, Jakeem Grant, Denzel Mimsey are the wide receiver pickups. You probably don't need most of these guys. I'd say Pittman, Samuel, Slayton, those 3 you probably do need to roster. The rest of them for deeper leagues, injuries, whatever may have you, you can use the rest of the pickups for that. But those 3 I think need to be rostered because you can start those guys on a weekly basis. Tight end injuries. Greg Olsen injured himself in the Thursday night contest. It's his foot, plantar fasciitis. He is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. That does open up room for either Will Disley or Jacob Hollister. I would bet it would be Disley, and just pieces of this passing game are valuable, but until you actually know, there are likely better pickups that you can go make at the tight end position. Jonnu Smith injured his ankle. No word yet on what his week 12 status is going to be. Darnell Daniels for the Cards ended up missing the game, but Max Williams was back, and my guy Tarzan Dan Arnold. Hey, Arnold! Caught a touchdown in that game, but he didn't really do much outside of that. So you don't want any Cardinals tight ends. There's no throw to tight ends. Zach Ertz eligible to return this week for the Eagles. Not sure whether or not he will, but he is eligible to return, and George Kittle is still on injured reserve. He could come back this season, although it is looking more and more unlikely by the week. So pickups, because Kittle's not back. Jordan Reed, number 1. As long as he's healthy, the guy puts in fantasy work. And, I guess maybe with Deebo back, maybe his role is lessened a little bit, but still, when you just take a run through the tight ends who are available, it's not a great scene. Jordan Reed, Dallas Goedert, Logan Thomas. Only Goddard if Ertz misses another week. Actually, he's been pretty good the past 2 weeks. Jimmy Graham at number 4, Dalton Schultz, Trey Burton, Mike Gesicki, Eric Ebron, and Robert Tonyan, the full pickup list. Quarterback streams for the week. You got Daniel Jones at Cincinnati, Derek Carr at Atlanta, Teddy Bridgewater, who I would expect to return, at Minnesota, Alex Smith at Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, Phillip Rivers, Tua, who's going to start, and he gets the Jets. It's a get-right spot for old Tua, and Baker Mayfield at Jacksonville. The full extent of the injuries at quarterback, obviously Joe Burrow is out for the season with a torn ACL. Kyler Murray dinged up his shoulder, an AC joint. A lot of AC joints this year. Apparently Sam Darnold's the only one who can't play through it, but Kyler Murray expected to play this week, so you can probably get him back in at New England. Nick Foles, it looked like he was done for the season, but apparently he might play this week for the Bears. So it's him and Trubisky who's eligible to return as well. Just pay attention to who ends up getting the start there. Drew Brees on injured reserve, so he's out at least another 2 weeks. Teddy Bridgewater did not play. PJ Walker looked all right, unless he was in the red zone near the goal line, and then he started throwing it to the other team. Either way, he was okay. Teddy will be better, and he was so close to playing this week that you'd almost have to assume he's going to be back for week 12. Kyle Allen, Sam Darnold. Darnold could be back next week. Allen, I don't know when he's going to be back. No one really cares anyway. Garoppolo and Minshew probably not going to play again. Minshew actually could be back. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo could get cut. He could get traded. It looks like they might be going in a different direction. Make the Super Bowl to cut the next year. Tough go for old Jimmy G. Streaming defenses for the week. I mentioned Cleveland as the pickup for the playoffs. I went through all of the best schedules in last week's waiver wire show. You can rewind to that if you would like. But the Giants are the number one pickup with a bullet. They had a bye week. They're coming out of their bye, so they could be eligible to pick up right now looking forward. So if you play in a league where bye week teams do not go on waivers, just go pick up the Giants for free right now if someone else has not already in your league. If not, then you can use them on the waiver wire. New Orleans, Washington, Las Vegas, the Cardinals against the Patriots, Green Bay against Chicago, Seattle on Monday evening, and San Francisco against the LA Rams. Not a great stream, but I listed 8 anyway. Those are the 8 in order. You can check out the full report in the rankings when those come out on Tuesday. That will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. The Listeners League link will be up a little bit later on. You can check out the Thanksgiving DraftKings show with Joe Holka a little bit later on Monday evening. I think that's when it'll be out, Monday evening. And then the Spread Pick show Tuesday morning, ranking show Tuesday afternoon, rest of the Spread Pick show on Wednesday. We've got a lot coming out. We might even go live on Thursday morning for any last-second questions on Mayo Media Network. So please go subscribe to the channel right now. Smash the like button for the video. And if you do have a question about Week 12 or your team moving forward, leave that in the comment section. I will get back to you. The updated rankings will be in the description of this video and podcast. You can check that out on DK Playbook as well. And if you're looking for player projections for the week or on Monday evening, go to FTN Fantasy or FTNDaily.com. Whether you're a season-long player, whether you're a daily player, that's how you can distinguish between the sites. Awesome tools up there right now. You can check out all the free ones. If you want the premium ones, use code Mayo. Get yourself a discount. And fun fact, it's already heavily discounted because we are into Week 12. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I will see you later on this week. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!